Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the caption of the video, this is going to be a tutorial for beginners on a full set as well as French tip. So of course we're going to start by pushing back the cuticles, and then I take my cuticle drill bit, which is in the shape of a cone, so I also call it my cone drill bit sometimes. But I just take that and go around my client's cuticle. You just want to make sure that you are getting underneath, of course not applying too much pressure or like pushing, but this just helps get all of the expose all of the nail, get all of the new growth nice and dull, and get ready for the rest of the prep. This is really important because it will help prevent lifting. So now I'm taking my sanding band. This is a 180 sanding band. You can find these on Amazon. And you just want to briefly go across the client's entire nail from top to bottom, left to right. And this is really, really important because this is what gets rid of the natural oils that each of us produce. And that helps prevent lifting as well, because if there's any oils left on your client's nails when applying the acrylic or doing the prep, you will get lifting and you will get nails popping off. So you just want to keep that in mind. And so now I am applying the nail tips. A big tip that I like to give people when doing my tutorials is that when you place the nail tips, you want to follow the finger and not the client's nail. So what I mean by that is, as you can see, I started with the pinky and I'm just making my way through all of the fingers. And you just want to line them up and make sure that they're all straight with each other. As you know, you have clients whose fingers and nails point one way, they point different ways. So when you're applying the nail tips, just make sure that all of the nails are going in the same direction and that you are never having to apply too much pressure when putting the nail tips on, because the more pressure, well, I guess I should say, if the nail tip is too big or too small, it will pop off or cause breakage. So just make sure you keep that in mind when applying the tips. You do not want the nail tips to be too big nor too small. And so now we are just going over where the natural nail and the nail tip meet, and we're just blending that in. Filing the rest of the nail tip is totally optional. I do it because I think that it helps with the adhesion of the acrylic, but it is totally optional. Just make sure that you are definitely focusing on where the nail and the natural nail meet. Now I'm applying my Dehydrated by Mia Secret 10 out of 10, totally recommended. This just is another layer of getting rid of those natural oils. And next we're going to go in with our Young Nails Protein Bond. This helps with the bonding of the acrylic. This is super, super important. Like, you cannot do a set without these two things. So definitely recommend, and they're very affordable. You can find both of them on Amazon. So they last me quite a while too. I do a lot of clients, and I would say that I have to buy one every 2 months maybe. But like I said, they're very affordable. So now I'm going in with my custom made acrylic. So if this is a color that you end up being interested in, you can definitely comment down below or reach out to me on one of my social medias, which will be down in the description. And this is available for purchase. So I am such a huge fan of pink. I love pink. So I just decided to make this one of my first acrylics that I will be selling on my soon to come website. So definitely check it out, and I will of course make a whole video when I launch that website. But I'm just kind of like in the works of getting everything together. But this will be one of the items that you can buy, and this is for sale now, so you don't have to wait. If you're interested, like I said, comment down below or hit me up on one of my social medias. It's literally, as you can see it applying, just so smooth like butter. It's such a good consistency. The color is so pretty. And I'm not just saying this because I made it, y'all, because if it was trash, I would not be putting it on my client. But as you can see, I used 2 beads. I do end up going back in and adding one more bead just for a little bit more color. But perfect. Like, such a good base, such a good foundation already. Like, with 2 beads, that's perfect. But so as you can see, I am taking my first bead and I'm placing it where the nail and the natural nail meet, the nail tip, where the nail tip and the natural nail meet. And I am just feathering it down. This is the most important part of the nail. It's called the apex. So 9 times out of 10, if a nail is going to break, this is where it's going to break at. So you just want to make sure that you are really focusing on this part of the nail, building it up, getting a nice foundation, because this is where most clients experience breakage. Think of it kind of like the heart of the nail. So, of course, or the root of the nail, I guess, is the better comparison. So I go ahead and I place my second bead right above that, and I just slightly feather it down. You don't want to apply too much pressure or like pull or drag, because all that will do is eventually cause your acrylic to get mushed in your brush, and you'll be wiping off more product than what you need to be. So, and as you can see, I'm definitely making sure to go around my client's finger and get any acrylic off of the skin that may be on there. 9 times out of 10 there usually isn't, but it's always better to be safe than sorry, because while acrylic is wet, obviously you can just wipe it off rather than try to file acrylic on your client's skin. Yeah, that's not good. So just make sure that you're constantly staying clean, wiping around your client's cuticle area and the skin. And I also recommend, as you're applying the acrylic, to make sure that you are wiping the sides of the nail as well as the free edge, because that is what will help keep your shape and in the end eliminate like having to file a lot. So I think that is one of my biggest tips when it comes to the application process, is to stay clean and stay neat, because the neater you are and the cleaner you are during application, the less you will have to do when you have to file or use your e-file. Like, it'll go so quick. And also, as you can see, just the application process in general goes a lot quicker when you are utilizing your beads and making sure to apply them in a good manner, because it helps build up your nail. You don't have to do too much manipulation to the acrylic. You just simply place your beads, feather them down, and as long as you're staying clean, you can move on to the next finger. So I have noticed that, when I first started doing nails, I think it took me about 30 minutes for each hand. Now it takes me about 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the length. A short set, I can probably do each hand, probably about 7 minutes each. So, and I just said that just to be mindful, pay attention to your progress, and always try to check to see, what you could be doing differently to become better, to become quicker. Don't rush yourself, but just keep it in mind for sure. I do want to go into depth a little bit about the cuticle beads. So I already explained to you guys about the rest of the beads on the nails. And on the finger that I'm on now, as you can see, I'm making sure to really wipe those sides and that free edge to keep everything nice and clean. And I'm now going to go in with the cuticle bead. So as you can see, I did not place it right on the cuticle. I placed it right underneath, and I just used the tip of my brush to move it up slightly. And now I'm going to be making sure again to wipe the nails and feather it down, and it will literally be so flush. Of course, you do want to go in and clean up just a little bit, but as you can see, it is so flush. There will actually be a better, closer look here in a minute. But that is the goal. The cuticle beads should never ever be placed on the cuticle. You want to place them underneath, because if acrylic gets on the skin, especially the cuticle, you will have lifting. Lifting can lead to a lot of other problems as well. You can have water get under your client's nails, which will leave greenies. That's another story for another time, but you definitely want to avoid those, because they are not able to be removed. They simply have to grow out and be clipped off. So just make sure that when it comes to the cuticle bead, like I said, you are just placing it underneath the cuticle rather than right on top. And you want to use the tip of your brush to push it up and the body of your brush to feather it down. And don't let that, stress you out or panic you, worry you, because that's how it should be for all acrylic application, not just the cuticle bead. When it comes to your acrylic brush, the tip of the brush is to manipulate and to move, and the body of the brush is to feather and pat it down. As you can see, I just did with this bead. I used the tip of the brush to place it and drag it down a little bit, and now I'm using the body of my brush to just lightly feather it. That is how your brush should be used. So if you feel like you're having trouble with acrylic application, or getting acrylic stuck in your brush, whatever the case may be, definitely try that out. See if that's how you're using your brush, and then change it to that method and see if that helps. Also, when it comes to the acrylic application, you do not want to make your nails super big and bulky. I know a lot of people think that just because they make their nails big and bulky that they won't break, but that is not true. As I mentioned earlier, you do want to just make sure that you focus strongly on your apex, because as long as that's built up, the rest of your foundation will kind of flow. You know, you don't want the tip nor the cuticle area to be super thick, and you don't even want your apex to necessarily be super thick, but you just want to make sure that you know, if you place your bead at your starting bead at the apex and kind of work your way up as you've seen me do with these nails, I think that your foundation will be just fine. But definitely take that with a grain of salt, because every nail tech does things differently. So just because I do it that way doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. I just feel like it's a good way to explain, you know, it's a good method to use when applying the acrylic. And also you want to make sure that your beads are not too wet and not nor too dry. Definitely just take a little bit of practice with, you know, picking up your beads. Obviously, if they're too wet, they'll just be running and run off the nail, and if they're too dry, they won't move at all. So I normally say for each nail you want to try to use, which this does depend on the acrylic you're using, the brush, the set you're doing, but definitely with like a basic set like this, or at least a basic acrylic application like this, you do I typically use about 3 to 4 beads. If you feel like you need to add more, definitely don't be afraid to go ahead and add more. It's easier to add more than to remove. So yeah, this is after the acrylic application. As you can see, they're very neat, very clean. So I'm not going to have much filing or anything to do. And that color is so pretty. So yeah, I'm just in love. But anyways, this is actually, you guys, there was a malfunction in my filming, so the video is going to slow down a little bit, well, kind of a lot of it, so just bear with me. But it's still the same process regardless of how quick or slow the video was going. So when you're cleaning up your shape, you just want to make sure, especially in this case, the client wanted to keep the sharp square shape, so you just want to file the sides at a 90-degree angle, making sure that you keep the file flat up against the nail tip. You also want to make sure that you're pulling your client's skin back, because I use an 80 grit file. I think any file will cut your client, but definitely an 80 grit file. I believe that's the sharpest file that there is, and I use that only because I feel like it gives me the best shape. So I always make sure to pull my client's skin back, because it just takes one wrong swipe and your client will have a huge gash. It's the most uncomfortable thing ever, so just definitely keep that in mind. And you don't want to go crazy with the filing. As you can see in the video right before this, showing you know, after the application, the square shape was definitely there. It just needed to be cleaned up, but there was not, you know, really much flaw in that. And I don't say that to brag. I'm just saying that because you want to make sure you keep that in mind when you're filing, because it's already there. It just needs to be cleaned up. So when you're filing, you don't want to, you know, go crazy on each side of the nail. I would say just file each side for, you know, just a little bit and come back and check it, because you don't want to take too much off and now your client's nails are, you know, skinny like chicken nails. You just want to clean up the sides and definitely get the free edge. I think that's the most important part. Again, file straight up and down at a 90-degree angle, and just keep the file straight up against the free edge. I definitely recommend when you're doing this to hold your clients like underneath their nail and have your thumb, not even necessarily your thumb, because that's getting too descriptive. Basically, as you can see, I'm holding my client's finger. I definitely recommend doing that, because if you do not, it will be very uncomfortable and painful when you're filing the free edge. Then you have to think the nail will just be getting tugged at up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's super uncomfortable. So keep that in mind. Definitely hold your client's finger in their nail. Sorry, I blanked there. But I do it honestly with any angle. As you can see, I'm still doing it here, and when I flip to the other side, I'll be holding her nail with my thumb. I just feel like, you know, your nails are so tender, so you want to make sure that, you know, you're not just pulling at them up and down, side to side. So that's just a tip. And also, the well, it's not the biggest, but another big thing is that when you're filing your nails, you want to make sure that you're getting on the undersides of the nails, like underneath the sides of them, because a lot of the times, especially when you are someone like me who likes to make sure that you're keeping the shape constantly, you know, during the acrylic application, you're constantly wiping the sides of the nails, wiping the free edge. Acrylic can sometimes seep under there, so it might be hard to see, but it's definitely under there most of the time. So I say that to say make sure that you're filing the sides of your nails, because the undersides of your nails, I'm sorry, because that can definitely make or break a set. You do not want to have, you know, rigid undersides of the nails. You know, the nails might look cute over top, but then underneath they got ridges and, you know, it's all uneven. It's just a mess. So definitely make sure that you're making those nice and straight and clean underneath. But when it comes to shaping, I don't say rush at all. Definitely take your time, because one of the biggest tips I can give in the shaping aspect part of nails is that it makes or breaks the set. I don't care how cute your design is or how many jewels you put on there. It will not matter if your shaping is off. You can have, you know, a okay set, but if the shape is there, people are gonna be like, oh, okay, like her nails are clean, versus, you know, a lot of bling, but the nails are different shapes and different sizes and different lengths. Like, that'll just throw the entire set off. So definitely don't rush during your shaping, but that is another reason why I say during your acrylic application to make sure that you're staying nice and neat and clean, because it will help you in the long run with your shaping. So again, here I'm just filing the free edge, and the video sadly does not speed up, so I think I pretty much explained everything that you guys should know about the shaping, at least in my opinion. And if there's anything else that you guys want to know, or anything else you want to see, or see a video in real speed, definitely check my other videos out. As you can see, they're nice and clean, nice and crisp. You've got to have a crisp shape. And we're about to move on to the e-filing. So again, with my application being so clean, I don't have to do a lot of filing. And again, you guys, this video is slowed down somehow also, but these are the only two videos. I don't know how that happened, and I tried so hard to get the videos up to speed. I even sped them up to the max when editing, and yeah, they were just still in slow motion, but it's all good. Like I said, I do have plenty of other videos that you guys can go watch to see it in real time. But honestly, whether it's real time or slowed down, it's still the same process. So as long as you see it and you know what to do, it's fine. So as you can see, I'm starting at the cuticle. You just want to make sure that you're going from one side to the other, really getting into that cuticle area. Of course, you don't want to cut your client, so you don't want to get too close, but you just want to make sure that you are really focusing on blending in that cuticle area. Sealing the cuticle is actually the proper term for that, but this helps prevent lifting again. Also, it kind of is like the final seal, so it makes sure that it's nice and flat, nice and flush to the cuticle. That way when it grows out, it's as close and connected to the nail as possible. So that's really important. Sometimes with the acrylic, you can, especially with the cuticle beads, since there's still space right there, you can kind of have, some ridges or a space where not the acrylic isn't so applied so well. So basically, that's what sealing the acrylic does. It just makes sure that everything in that cuticle area is nice and flat, no lumps, no risen areas, anything like that. And then of course you do have to file the rest of the entire nail. Now you don't want to go too crazy with this, because you can definitely leave a dent in your client's acrylic nail, which is not funny at all. It's actually so annoying, because then you're going to have to go back in and add more acrylic. So definitely avoid that. You just want to make sure that you are covering the entire nail from left to right, top to bottom. In this instance, I just use a fine drill bit, because the goal is not really to take anything off. It's really just to smooth it out. If you feel like you're finding yourself using your file to take acrylic off, you should probably just go back over your acrylic application steps again and really pay attention to what you're doing as far as when you're applying the acrylic, because again, once you apply, well, not once, but if you apply the acrylic very neat, you won't have to, your nails won't be lumpy and big and fat. You won't have to really take anything off. The goal would just be to smooth them out. And then here we have the buffer. So this is the easiest step of all. You just want to buff the entire nail left to right, top to bottom, and even the undersides. And that is just what gives it a nice smooth surface, and prepares it for the design. So in this case, we are doing a French tip. Now, I do want to mention, I don't ever record it, but after buffing the nails, I do apply cuticle oil to the cuticle area as well as the undersides of my clients' fingers, like right underneath of the nail where a lot of dust normally builds up. And then I have them wash their hands with soap. That way when they come back, it's a totally clean surface. There's no oils, there's no dust. It's just ready for the design. So as you can see, we're doing a black French tip, which a lot of people get scared to do French tip, but I promise they're not as hard as they seem. So I used to struggle with this a lot, and honestly, I've been doing nails for 4 years, and I think this is something that I just learned how to master. Some people might say otherwise, like, oh, you've been doing French tip good, but me personally, I'm feeling happy and comfortable with my French tip. So these are actually not hard to do, and they do not take too long either. At least with my method, I feel like they don't. Of course, still do what works for you, do what's comfortable for you, because everyone does French tip different. I cannot believe how many ways I've seen French tip be done, and they all come out super nice. But I just do, again, what works for me. So it does also depend if your client wants like a deep French tip or just a thin French tip. In this case, unless my client specifies otherwise, I always just go off of the picture. So in this case, she wanted a deeper French tip. So what I do is I just start by outlining the sides of the nails. So I just kind of pick a spot, not pick a spot, I do the same spot on every nail, but as you can see here, this is where I want my French tip like to kind of start. So I just kind of outline that side, and I go ahead and start my curve. I go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, but this time when I'm doing my curve, I just go ahead and connect it. Now, of course, I do like to bounce back and forth from side to side as far as the French goes, because I just feel like it makes it easier to make it more precise. I feel like just trying to drag it and make one long line is where I used to run into a lot of problems, because my brush would, my hand would twitch, and now the line's messed up, and where the brush gets kind of stuck because the polish done went dry. So I just feel like kind of going back and forth and slowly connecting it is what helped me a lot. And then after I do that, I do start to fill in the rest of the nail, and once it's filled in with the polish, that is when I'm able to look at it and really see if I need to, correct my French tip at all, if I need to add a little bit more here or take some off, do a little bit more of a curve. It's kind of hard to tell, at least for me anyways, before I have it filled in, because it's just not as obvious. Once it's all filled in, it's all painted in, that's when it kind of stands out, like, oh, this is a little bit crooked. So as you can see, I'm kind of flying through these. It is definitely an easy process, but it does take practice. So please do not get discouraged. A lot of people think French tip is just a simple design, and it really is not. It's a simple look, yes, but it's not a simple design. It's not simple to do. Once you get the hang of it, you might feel, you might think otherwise, but it's very tedious, especially when you're, doing the same design on 5 fingers. You have to make sure that it looks the same. So definitely give yourself some grace. Do not be too hard on yourself, because French tip takes some time. As you can see, I had to go back in and kind of clean up the sides, add a little bit more polish. Now I'm taking a little bit off because that hand twitching, my hand kind of twitched, and I got a little bit of polish somewhere it did not need to go. So I'm just taking the nice little cleanup brush, which is always good to have, and I just took the excess off. I'm just going back in and adding a little bit more to that curve until I liked it. Definitely take your time on these, because another mistake I used to make was just trying to perfect it so much that I would realize I was just messing myself up. By the time I would look up, my French tip would be covering the entire nail. So if you're having trouble with French tips, I definitely recommend at least trying this method. Like I said, this is what I started to do and it worked perfectly for me, and it's been fine ever since. So this is the finished outcome. We did add the top coat and some charms, and they are so cute. I'm so obsessed. I literally am going to be trying to convince everybody to get this colored. So anyways, like I said, this acrylic is now available for sale, so definitely hit me up on my social medias if you're interested. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.